16 February 1587, Edinburgh, Scotland. The cold, mist-laden air moves quietly yet heavily through the narrow, cobbled streets of Edinburgh. A grey veil of fog embraces the towers and steep-roofed houses, while the toll of the church bells echoes like a slow heartbeat in the silence. The smell of wood smoke rising from the chimneys mingles with the warm scent of fresh bread escaping from a small bakery at the edge of the square. Yet this fragrance of life cannot hide the sorrow that clings to the city. Beneath this fragile calm, a storm is brewing, not born of wind, but of whispers, betrayals, and secret pacts. For years, Scotland has known neither peaceful days nor restful nights. Here, faith and the sword together make the law, and the line between friend and foe is as thin as the edge of a blade. Every house, every tavern, every church might be a shelter for conspiracy. Behind closed wooden doors and shuttered windows lie secrets that, if spoken aloud, could send heads rolling to the ground. At the heart of this turbulent land sits a woman upon a throne, or perhaps, more truthfully, on the very brink of a precipice of power, Mary Stuart, Queen of Scots. Her name winds through every street and market, tangled in murmurs of admiration and suspicion, of love and hate, of betrayal and loyalty. Born of both the French and Scottish royal bloodlines, she was raised in the French court, bearing a beauty of classical elegance, mixed with a penetrating gaze and a mind as sharp as steel. Tall in stature, with skin like ivory, and eyes that seem to hold both the warmth of a friend and the chill of a queen. But this woman, for all her splendor, is ensnared in a web of enemies, spies, and traitors, many of them closer to her than the distance of an outstretched hand. Her court is as much a hall for music and celebration as it is a silent battlefield for politics and power. The 16th century is an age where love and politics flow together like two turbulent rivers, their currents impossible to separate. In such a world, one misplaced glance could shatter an alliance, a single phrase could ignite a bloody war, and one letter could change the fate of a kingdom. Yet behind the heavy curtains of the palace, far from the council chambers and the watchful eyes of spies, the Queen's heart is still human, filled not only with the burdens of state, but with longing, yearning, and a thirst for freedom. Sometimes, in the stillness of night, far from the clamor of the court, she would take up her pen and write words meant not for ministers or historians, but for one person alone, for a hand she had never touched, or perhaps only once. This is the realm of secrets, a place where the Queen, without armor or crown, reveals her truest self. Letters no advisor would sign, no secretary would read, and no royal seal would mark. Letters that would one day be found inside a silver casket, small and delicate, yet curiously heavy, not from its metal, but from the weight of the secrets it carried. Secrets that would change not only the fate of a woman, but the destiny of a nation. These letters were more than messages of love. They were records of a silent struggle, a battle between a woman who wished to love freely and a world that had locked her in a gilded cage. In them, the traces of tears were woven into the ink, and between every sentence was a silence that spoke louder than 1,000 words. And tonight, we open the door to one of these letters, a letter that never reached its destination, a letter that still carries, across the centuries, the scent of damp old paper, of tears, and of a noble sorrow. In reading it, we draw not only closer to the heart of a queen, but step into the darkest and most intimate moments of history, moments in which even a crown could not lighten the weight of Queen Solitude.
Queen of Scotland, 8 Feb. 1587. To the most Christian King, my brother and old ally, royal brother, having by God's will, for my sins I think, thrown myself into the power of the Queen my cousin, at whose hands I have suffered much for almost 20 years, I have finally been condemned to death by her and her estates. I have asked for my papers, which they have taken away, in order that I might make my will, but I have been unable to recover anything of use to me, or even get leave either to make my will freely, or to have my body conveyed after my death, as I would wish, to your kingdom where I had the honor to be queen, your sister and old ally. Tonight, after dinner, I have been advised of my sentence. I am to be executed like a criminal at 8 in the morning. I have not had time to give you a full account of everything that has happened, but if you will listen to my doctor and my other unfortunate servants, you will learn the truth and how, thanks be to God, I scorn death and vow that I meet it innocent of any crime, even if I were their subject. The Catholic faith and the assertion of my God-given right to the English crown are the two issues on which I am condemned, and yet I am not allowed to say that it is for the Catholic religion that I die, but for fear of interference with theirs. The proof of this is that they have taken away my chaplain, and although he is in the building, I have not been able to get permission for him to come and hear my confession and give me the last sacrament, while they have been most insistent that I receive the consolation and instruction of their minister, brought here for that purpose. The bearer of this letter and his companions, most of them your subjects, will testify to my conduct at my last hour. It remains for me to beg your most Christian Majesty, my brother-in-law and old ally, who have always protested your love for me, to give proof now of your goodness on all these points. 1. Firstly, by charity, in paying my unfortunate servants the wages due them. This is a burden on my conscience that only you can relieve. 8. 2. Further, by having prayers offered to God for a queen who has borne the title Most Christian, and who dies a Catholic, stripped of all her possessions. 3. As for my son, I commend him to you in so far as he deserves, for I cannot answer for him. I have taken the liberty of sending you 2 precious stones, talismans against illness, trusting that you will enjoy good health and a long and happy life. Accept them from your loving sister-in-law, who, as she dies, bears witness of her warm feeling for you. Again I commend my servants to you. Give instruction, if it please you, that for my soul's sake part of what you owe me should be paid, and that for the sake of Jesus Christ, to whom I shall pray for you tomorrow as I die, I be left enough to found a memorial mass and give the customary alms. This Wednesday, 2 hours after midnight. Your most loving and most true sister, Mary R.
After the silence, dawn broke on the 8th of February, 1587. In the great stone hall of Fotheringhay Castle, the air was still and cold. The windows were dim with frost, and the only sound was the measured steps of guards upon the wooden floor. Mary Stuart, Queen of Scots, entered with a calm, unhurried grace, as though she were attending a royal audience rather than her own execution. She wore a black velvet gown, long and flowing, with a white lace collar, and beneath it, a crimson petticoat, the deep red of martyrdom. Before she knelt, she prayed aloud, her voice steady, her French accented English carrying through the hall. Then, with her own hands, she tied the blindfold. The executioner raised his axe. The first blow struck, but did not sever. The second cut deeper, and with the third, her head was taken, and the life of a queen ended. The news of her death swept across Europe like a storm. For Catholics, Mary became a martyr, a woman who had refused to renounce her claim to the English throne or her Catholic faith, even in the face of certain death. For Elizabeth I, it was the end of her longest and most dangerous threat, but at a terrible cost. The killing of a crowned queen left a stain on her reign that no proclamation could erase. In France and Scotland, Mary's kin mourned deeply, but their grief was shackled by political reality. Her son, James VI of Scotland, only 20 years old at the time, wore his crown in silence. He did not seek vengeance. He knew too well that rash defiance could cost him his throne. Years later, with the death of Elizabeth, James would ascend to the English crown as James I, uniting Scotland and England under one monarch, a union his mother would never live to see. For the people of Scotland, Mary's death marked the end of an era, but not the end of suffering. Religious wars, clan feuds, and the ever-reaching hand of foreign powers continued to divide the land. The kingdom remained torn between two faiths: Catholics, who venerated Mary as a sainted queen, and Protestants, who branded her a traitor. In villages and cities alike, the story of Mary was whispered for generations, a tale woven of grief, anger, and unfulfilled dreams. Beyond Scotland's borders, the execution shook the political map of Europe. In Catholic courts, outrage flared. In Spain, King Philip II, long contemplating an invasion of England, now held what he claimed was a holy cause, vengeance for a Catholic queen. 1 year later, in 1588, the Great Spanish Armada set sail for England. Though the English fleet and fierce storms destroyed it, the ripples of Mary's death had already altered the tides of history. Her execution was more than the fall of a single queen. It was a warning. No royal bloodline, no marriage alliance, no sacred anointing could shield a monarch from the cold machinery of political survival. In the new reality of European power, crowns could be toppled as swiftly as commoners could be condemned. And for Mary herself, history would cast a double image. To some, she was the embodiment of courage, loyalty, and steadfast faith. A queen wronged by politics and betrayed by those she trusted. To others, she was a dangerous romantic whose ambition endangered nations. But all could agree on one truth. Hers was a life lived in the full light of the stage and ended beneath the shadow of the axe. Today, more than 4 centuries later, her voice survives in the letters she wrote, letters that speak not only of politics and alliances, but of longing, sorrow, and a will unbroken by chains. These words, once carried in secret, hidden in caskets and sewn into garments, still bridge the centuries. Mary Stuart's story is not just about the fall of a queen. It is about the unrelenting grip of power, the price of faith, and the fragile balance between love and survival. In the quiet after her final breath, the world shifted in courts, in kingdoms, and in the hearts of those who remembered her. And as we close this chapter, we stand where her story ended, in the stillness of that February morning, the crimson cloth beneath her gown hidden from the eyes of the crowd, the echo of the axe still in the air. Her body was gone, but her shadow fell long across the pages of history. A queen silenced, a crown stained.